So, uh, Master Guide Jesse, please read the leader parts and I will read the Pathfinder parts.
Ang ating pong lecturer sa hapong ito, siya po ay kasalukuyang naglilingkod po bilang Master Guide Club Counselor sa Gagalangin Pathfinder Club. She also holds a PLA holder to pay batch 2020. Ang topic kanya i-discuss this afternoon is about Christian discipline. My fellow master guides this afternoon, our lecturer, no other than Master Guide Aurien May G. Jimenez. Ma'am May, it's your time.
Thank you po, Master Guide Solomon. And good afternoon po again to everyone.
Afternoon.
So I'm very happy and humbled to have to give you a lecture today. So let me share my screen or the message. So kita po ba? Ayan. All right. So as Master Guide Solomon said, my topic is about Christian discipline. So, share ko lang po I was not raised in an Adventist house or family. Growing up, we have a lot of fun and I have lots of relatives. So the discipline in our house is strict. No po? And so we will discuss what's the difference between Christian discipline and your average or regular discipline. So we were going to focus on how can we discipline a Pathfinder Club member. Okay, so first, let's recall what is discipline. So if you look it up in the dictionary, it means punishment inflicted by way of correction and training, and it's training to act in accordance with rules or drills. But if you add the word Christian to discipline, we are going to discipline in a Christ-like manner. I've been teaching since I graduated from university, and my first students were preschool students. So at the start, I was very afraid. No po. How am I going to discipline and teach very young children? But I was trained to deal with junior high school students. So it was scary, and not everyone are confident about their ability to manage and discipline their children. But us, the Pathfinder directors and leaders, assume this responsibility of maintaining discipline for an entire club. So not only for small children, but all members of the club. Now, fortunately, many of these skills and or of discipline and management can be learned and with careful implementation, be very successful. Now, most Pathfinder leaders have observed that discipline techniques improve with practice. And as a practicing teacher, I can attest to this. At the start, you are bound to make mistakes, and there will be worrisome moments. But as long as your heart is in the right, or it's for the children or whoever you are teaching or mentoring, and with a lot of prayer from our God, we can't really go wrong. Now, so when we are starting, at the start of this year, to be more precise, we need to plan. No, we are planning for our activities, for our the goal of the club. So we also need to plan for discipline or to discipline whoever will choose inappropriate behavior. So A behavioral management plan should be developed parallel to the annual program plan. It can be developed by the staff, and they may ask for input from professional educators, guidance counselors, or other trained personnel in the area. So if you know anyone who professionally deals or professionally manage young children or children's in general, it will be very helpful if you can ask them to join in your planning for the activities or for the discipline, because we are or they are trained for that. And let's admit they are more knowledgeable about how to uh, discipline and manage young children. So following the approval of the church board of the program and management plan, what should be presented during club organizational meeting at the beginning of the yearly cycle. And copies should be provided to all families and members. It's very important po that they have a printed copy so that from the start, they know what will be followed in case of a disciplinary action or meeting. Now, as a Pathfinder leader, we have these responsibilities. The first is to establish rules. Now, when we were having trainings in the classroom teaching po, sorry po, yun yung experience ko. It's very important that you have few rules so that they can easily remember, and it should be simply stated. Na po. So hindi magtatanong yung bata or the pathfinder, what does this mean, or ito ba ay in line sa rules or hindi. And number 2, post the rules and give copies again to the family. And number 3, discuss rules in detail at first meeting and review periodically. So dapat po there is development. If we see that they are already following these rules, then you can change depending on the situation, or you can add to the rules, as long as it's simple and short. Next, we have established discipline procedure. So if you remember, discipline is when we are correcting an inappropriate behavior. So as a Christian leaders or Pathfinder leaders, we follow a 5-step management plan that is utilized by many clubs. The goal for each step of the procedure is to help the Pathfinder choose appropriate behavior. So hindi po natin sila pinapuwersa, or we're not forcing them to behave in a different manner, but we are asking them to choose a better behavior and good manners po. No? The consequences for misbehavior become more serious with each succeeding step of the program. Now, the first one that we use is the verbal interaction. So most pathfinders respond to verbal interaction. Now, siguro po, with your neighbors or sa mga kapitbahay ko po, we always hear them screaming at their children and even cursing their young children. And these derogatory remarks may change behavior, but do not foster a Christian atmosphere. So here we outline 2 techniques of verbal interaction. Po. So hindi po effective yung bad words or shouting, screaming at these children. The first one po is the reality dialogue. So it's a method of asking for questions which helps the Pathfinder become aware of his or her actions. So the first one is, what are you doing? So we ask this question to see if the pathfinder understands what he or she is doing, and if he or she will realize that what he or she is doing is in a good behavior or if it's not. Next is the question, is it against the rule or the rules? So now we have to confirm if the child or the pathfinder remembers the rules that we have in the club uh, meetings or in the club itself. Next, what should you be doing? So instead of what they are doing, we have to remind them as well what they should be doing in the club or in the church or anywhere else. And lastly, what is your plan? Apo? So what if the pathfinder does not have a plan or does not respond to the sequence of questions? So then the leader, in a very friendly manner, tells the pathfinder to sit in a quiet place until he or she has a plan. So sa ano po, in school settings, we call this timeout. Although we don't ask the child or the student or the members to make a plan. But in our Pathfinder leadership, we have to ask them and focus their minds on what they have to do. Na po? So they need a plan. And kagaya po no sabi ni Ma'am Edna, there should be a purpose because we are instruments of God. Po? Next is the broken record dialogue. So simply restating over and over the same statement. The leader does not get involved in an endless arguing. So hindi po tayo nakikipag-negotiate, hindi po tayo nakikipagtalo. As leaders, we have to be firm with what we want our members to do and to follow. Simply repeating the original request somewhat as the following example. So, pwede po ba akong mag-ask ng participant to read with me?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you po. So, sino po ba ang pwede? Si Sir Jesse po,
Sir?
I request. So, Master Guy Jesse, please read the leader parts and I will read the Pathfinder parts.
Okay, ma'am.
Thank you.
Please put the tent in the truck.
But I'm going to swim.
Please put the tent in the truck.
Please let me go swim.
Please put the tent in the truck.
But my mom said I could go swimming.
Please put the tent in the truck.
Well, okay. And thank you so much, Master Guide Jesse. Okay.
You're welcome, ma'am.
Thank you. So as everyone can see, we need to be consistent and patient. That's like a key rule. When we are dealing with someone younger, patience is our number one go-to. And again, you do not change what you ask the Pathfinder to do. You simply restate it again until he or she do it. Now, if the Pathfinder continues to choose inappropriate behavior and does not respond in a positive manner to verbal interaction, then the leader would go to the second step of the program, the caution ticket. Okay. So, caution ticket. It's a written ticket, and it is the second step in our procedure. This is given in such a way as not to disrupt the meeting. So we don't need to shout or speak in a loud voice. We simply give it to our Pathfinder member. So just hand him or her the ticket. And so not to discourage the Pathfinder, we can do it with a smile or a pat on the back. So we are encouraging good behavior instead of the bad behavior. They can read the ticket, and they already know that it's a warning because we already explained that at the beginning of the year. So this also helps the Pathfinder to realize that he or she is still accepted by the leader, even though the behavior is not. We have to focus on the bad behavior and not the Pathfinder. So we have here a sample of a caution ticket. May I ask someone to read? How about Master Guide Eleonora?
Sample caution ticket. You have had a verbal warning already concerning the breaking of the club rules. This is a written caution to remind you to choose good behavior. Enjoy the remainder of the Pathfinder meeting. The ticket is discarded at the end of each meeting or event so that the member can start with a clean record for each activity. Few Pathfinders will go beyond the ticket stage. However, if the Pathfinder continues to choose inappropriate behavior after the ticket, third step kicks in.
Yes, thank you po, Master Guide Eleonora. All
Okay.
right, so this
Thank you, ma'am.
ticket, thank you po. So this is not a forever kind of ticket. We have to discard it after the meeting. It's important that this is just a reminder for them, for the Pathfinder, to choose good behavior or the appropriate behavior. And there's always a reminder that their participation will not end here. They can still enjoy it, and next time, if they don't want another caution ticket, they can restart over again with a clean record. So we remove it afterwards. Okay, now if this still fails, we have the step 3. Now, step 3 is isolation and written contract. The purpose of this step is to separate the Pathfinder from the group so that the activities can continue. It allows the Pathfinder one more opportunity to specifically describe and choose appropriate behavior. So this is similar po dun sa timeout, no? But I think after the first time out, if that still fails, we go to this isolation and written contract. Okay, so we are going to separate them, or the problem child, from the group itself. So not only in a quiet corner, but really away from the group. Now, we are going to give them time to think. So the leader asks members, or that one member, to sit in an isolated spot and think about the behavior that he or she is choosing. The leader then hands the member the following contract and says, when you've decided on good behavior, then complete this contract by describing the type of behavior that you will choose for the rest of this meeting. So this is not the plan that we had in the verbal interaction. This is a contract. So specifically, ilalagay ng, or the child will write what he or she will do during the meeting, and that should be in a good behavior. So this is a sample of a behavior contract. It's very simple po. So I choose to do this and that so that I can participate in the club activities. So we are trying, or we are asking the child to choose again good behavior. And this time, he or she will specifically write what he or she will do to join the club activities. And this should be dated, signed, noted by the parent. So if the member does not want to choose good behavior, the leader respects the Pathfinder's choice. So it's very important that we give these young people the respect for their choices. No po? It's part of the training that we're giving them. Now, but the Pathfinder must stay in the isolated place until the meeting or event comes to an end. So because that is his choice, he will have to also follow our rules. If the behavior is a continuing problem, then have the pathfinder take the contract home and have it signed by the parent and returned at the next meeting. So, iuuwi niya po yung contract na yon. And maybe the parent will talk to the child, or the parent should talk to the child, and why do you have this written contract? So there will be a discussion at home, and hopefully the child will listen to the parent. So if inappropriate behavior continues, we go to step 4. So for step 4, we have the parent conference. The purpose of the parent conference is to provide another opportunity. So as much as we could, we have to give the child the opportunity to choose their behavior or the appropriate behavior. So this is the Pathfinder, to help the Pathfinder make a commitment to choose appropriate behavior. The appointment should be at their home or some other neutral meeting place. Po. So kung hindi pwede sa bahay, hindi sa church, maybe in the park kung available po yun sa inyo, or not a restaurant na po. Parang public po kasi yun. So somewhere where you can have a one-on-one conversation with the parents and child. The leader should be careful to refer to the behavior as the pathfinder's choice, not condemn the child, but refer to the choice process he or she is using. Also, what management steps have been taken to enable better choice processes? Well, so again, we have to focus on the behavior of the child, not the child itself, you know, because the behavior is the one that we cannot or we should not accept. So it should be clear that we are concerned for his or her growth, well-being, and continuance in the club. We are not mad at the child, nor wish that he or she would leave. We appreciate specific strengths and talents he shows, or he or she shows, specifically name the talents and strengths. So here, the leaders should know what are the strengths of the child and his or her talents. So we are, again, doing encouragement. Na po. So hindi lang po natin pinopoint out yung bad behavior, but also we want to bring out the child's willingness to be praised and to be part of our club. Then you can end with a direct statement to the pathfinder. So for example, the name is Dave. Dave, perhaps you can share with us your future plans concerning your behavior while at Pathfinder meeting. So after talking to the parents, and you will finally end with the child. So we pray there's always a positive response, but if there is a positive response, have another contract ready to be filled out and signed by both child and parent. If the reaction is still negative, we have to move to step 5. So suspension from the club. So ito po yung final, no? This is the last resort that we want. And we don't want to reach this stage po. So since suspension is really by the choice of the child, the leader can still be in a friendly, caring mode. So the child also needs to understand very clearly that it has been his choice that has taken him or her this route. As for you, or us as leader, you would be quite happy to see him or her otherwise and perhaps someday soon. he will make the choice to return under a better set of behavior patterns. When that happens, you will be waiting with open arms. So we have to show the child that even though we are disciplining him or her by suspension, we want him or her to come back. We want her to be still part of our club. Okay. Now, there are some exceptions, the big no or no. So suspensions from the club for the following reasons should be instantaneous, and none of the preceding steps would be followed. So ito pong behaviors or I don't want to say crimes, but truly not acceptable po in our club or in our church is first is substance abuse. So hope praying po na wala naman tayong ganyan na experience. Sexual violations and unauthorized use of firearms. So these are for extreme cases, and we cannot follow the first 4 steps. It's an immediate suspension po, no? If we find a member doing any of these 3 things. Now, with the suspension, it will be accompanied with a letter. So here is a sample letter. May I ask one of our participants to read? How about...
We'll be reading, Dear Lynn, I feel sad that you have chosen inappropriate behavior during our Pathfinder Club meeting. An important part of belonging to a club is obeying the rules and regulations. I sincerely hope that you will miss us so much that you will decide to obey the rules. When you are ready to rejoin us, please describe the behavior that we expect from you by completing the contract that is enclosed in this letter. Please hurry back. Our club will miss you. Your friend and leader.
And thank you po, Master Guide Rainiel. Okay, so we have to add or we have to personalize a letter for the child. This shows that we still love and care for him or her despite him or her choosing inappropriate behavior. And again, we are encouraging him or her to come back soon and choose the appropriate behavior. So let's have a recap. How can we discipline our Pathfinder Club members? Okay, so first is the verbal interaction, the caution ticket, and the isolation and written contract. The 4th step is the parent conference. And finally is the suspension from the club. As leaders, we can learn and practice these techniques. But most of all, we need God to give us wisdom and patience to lead and mentor our young people. So let's always help them choose Christ-like behavior, not only in the club, but also in their daily life. So, yun lamang po ang ating lecture about Christian discipline.